Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu, High Performance Python Async, Episode 4 of 17. If you are used to Python standard database drivers, the way you pass variables into queries is going to catch you off guard, and your code will immediately break. Standard Python drivers rely on string formatting markers, but this library speaks directly to the database engine. Today we cover connecting and basic execution. To start talking to your database, you use the connect function from asyncpg. You await this function and pass it a data source name, which is a standard PostgreSQL connection URI. This looks exactly like a web address. It starts with PostgreSQL : followed by your username, a colon, your password, an @ symbol, the host address, and finally a slash with the database name. Awaiting this function establishes the network link and gives you an active connection object. Now you want to insert a username and date of birth into a table. This is where the query syntax changes. Do not use %s or question marks for your query parameters. Because asyncpg deliberately bypasses the standard Python database API, it forces you to use native Postgres placeholders. You write $1, $2, and so on. Your query string will look like a standard insert statement, but the values will be $1 and $2. To run this query without asking for data back, you await the execute method on your connection object. You pass the query string first, followed by the actual variables for the name and the date of birth. The execute method runs the statement and discards any tabular data. It simply returns a status string from Postgres, something like insert 01. It does not return the actual database rows. If you need the database to generate a unique ID for this new user, and you need that ID back in Python, execute is the wrong tool. You change your SQL query to add a returning ID clause at the end. Because you now expect data back, you use the fetch file method. The fetch file method runs the query and returns exactly one specific value. It looks at the first row returned, grabs the first column, and gives you just that piece of data. This is perfect for grabbing a newly generated user ID. If you need more than just the ID, perhaps you want the database defaults for several columns, you use fetch row instead. Awaiting fetch row returns a single record object containing all the columns from that first row. You can access the data inside this record exactly like a Python dictionary, using the column names as keys. When you are done inserting your data, you must await the close method on the connection object to clean up the network socket and release the database resources. Here is the key insight. Forcing you to use native $sign placeholders is not just a stylistic quirk. It allows asyncpg to bypass client-side string interpolation entirely, mapping Python types directly to Postgres binary formats for maximum speed and complete protection against SQL injection. Thanks for listening. Happy coding, everyone.